In the midst of a cornfield state, everyone just wants consistency and for things to be normal. But our normal is kind of defined by cishet, able-bodied white men who wish it was 1950. So normal just doesn't work out for a lot of us. It's reductive and impossible, and it's turning dangerous for a lot of us who can't fit into it with, recent legislation and all the political talk about just us existing. But here we still are. In the midst of all the hate towards us, we continue to exist. All of us youth tend not to be huge fans of the cornfield life anyways. So we just become weirder and weirder as time passes by, really, I've found.
I'm feeling queer today. Welcome back to I'm Feeling Queer Today, a podcast that amplifies the voices of LGBTQ plus young people like me for listeners like you, whoever you are. Brought to you by the Future Perfect Project. I'm your host, Trudy Pooks.
And I'm your other host, Kai Vandaway. If you're new here, welcome. This season, we are taking a queer road trip all around the country to answer a big question. What is it like to be queer where you live?
This season, we're trying out something new here on I'm Feeling Queer Today. If you leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to our show, we'll give you a shout out in a future episode.
Plus, if you have even more to say, we have an online voicemail box so we can hear directly from you, our listeners. Just go to speakpipe.com/IFQT. That's speakpipe.com/IFQT. Let us know what you think of the podcast and what you'd like to hear from us.
And who knows, maybe your voicemail will end up in our very next episode.
Today's destination is the Kaleidoscope Youth Center in Columbus, Ohio. KYC has been the largest and longest-standing organization in Ohio solely dedicated to serving and supporting LGBTQIA plus youth.
They've been providing programming, opportunities, and a safer space for queer youth in the area since 1994. Last year, the Future Perfect Project visited KYC during their Summer Institute, a free program for queer youth to learn team building, make creative projects, develop as leaders, and build community. Participants are also awarded stipends for showing up and participating. Kai, how long have you been coming to KYC?
I first attended KYC last year for their Summer Institute. I was looking for something to do with my summer. I found it just when I was just scrolling through Instagram and got an ad, and I went, yes. I was always looking for ways to meet more queer people. I found it to be a really great place. It's very supportive. I've attended a few programming days there. I'm doing this summer's Summer Institute as well.
That's awesome. So glad that you came to KYC.
Right before this, you heard from Felix about life in the cornfields of Ohio. Up next, the youth at KYC host a random topic roundtable and reflect on what it's like to be LGBTQ in Columbus.
Later on, we'll get to learn more about KYC and meet some more of its incredible members. Take a listen.
Yes, team.
So we have like a whole pile of crumbled up papers that have discussion topics on them.
Coming of age and understanding life more.
Like, in first grade, I had this crush on a girl, and I didn't know what it meant, and I, told all my friends about it. I was like, oh, I like this girl, and they're like, you can't do that. Only boys can like girls. And I was like, oh, okay, well, am I a boy? They're like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know either.
Change. Changing identities, stuff like that.
What comes to mind during change? Climate change. Changing of people, as you grow up, you change.
Or discovering that you're not bi, you just were told that you're supposed to like men, so you just say you do.
I was talking with my grandfather. He's an older white cishet man. He doesn't understand his terms. At one point I was in the car with him and he was like, so what's that dysphoria thing like?
I describe it sometimes and I'm like, imagine wearing a pair of pants that are really uncomfortable. They technically fit, but oh my god, you just want them to be a little bit different.
You know in your brain that you're a boy, right? It's not because your body's like that. It's because your brain's like that, right? And he's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'd be fine with being a woman. And then I was like, well, yeah, but do you want boobs? And he was like, oh, no, I get it.
I love straight people that are are an ally, but they don't know how to be an ally. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing to see a straight person go, what are they like? What am I supposed to, how do I say that? What am I supposed to say this? Is that mean? Is that offensive?
You know, loving yourself is hard, especially when people around you are making it difficult.
Yeah, it seems so easy when you're a kid and then you grow up and you see like just all the things in society, like expectations and stuff like that, like telling you should look like this or you should look like that. Or,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It feels like you're being stepped on.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't have a word to describe how I was feeling or what I was dealing with until I was stealing Wi-Fi from my neighbors because I was down at the end of the street and I was scrolling on YouTube and I came across an episode of I Am Jazz.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's such a good show.
And
it's such a good show.
when I learned it was talking about trans people, so I went on Google and I looked it up and instantly, like, my entire world just changed. I was like, other people feel like this too. Is it true that lesbians move really fast in relationships?
I'm sorry, I said yes so fast. It's true.
How in the world was I supposed to discover like my sexuality, let alone like gender identity, when everyone is just like, okay, you're 13 now, find a boyfriend now.
Like, that's so crazy. It's time to figure out stuff on your own now. Have fun.
Middle school was just mid. I think that's why it's called middle school.
It was like a social survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
This just says life. I don't have the answer to that. I'm sorry.
I don't have the answer to that either. That's a complicated question.
If I knew the answer to that, I think I would be rich.
Never dye your hair rainbow. That kind of like, as much as I loved it, it screwed me over with everything.
Just remembered something someone said to me in middle school. You know, we were all at recess outside, and eventually all my friends were just like, let's just dance. And I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. I look kind of weird. And then this random kid just came up to me and was just like, look, people are already going to look at you and think you're kind of weird anyway. So why not go all the way with it?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then I still carry that with me to this day, even though I have inexplicable, unimaginable beef with the person who said it to me.
It's okay.
And if you fall down, this is something my mom's always told me. If you fall down, just strike a pose and go, ta-da!
Yeah.
And go, you just witnessed a magical dance move. I did not trip over my shoelace. I did a death drop.
I should have done that in 6th grade. I would do that all the time.
I'm Felix.
And I'm Kiana.
My name is Connor. What it's like to be LGBT in Ohio, and for me to be LGBT in Ohio. It can be hard sometimes.
I always say I love Columbus. I don't like Ohio. So sometimes I wish Columbus could kind of just be its own like place.
Being in a red state is very scary. I find that most adults don't validate our fears.
Also, screw government, my God. Without them, I'm dead, and with them, I'm also dead.
Laws that could impact or end our lives are always being passed around, and seeing trans kids get murdered in the news terrifies me. And adults don't understand our fear and call us dramatic for fearing for our lives and our well-being.
I am in middle school. It is really hard for me to be myself because a lot of the kids are very judgy on what I can be, and they try to shape who I am. Once upon a time, I was like that to myself.
Even in an amazing city like Columbus, you still face lots of hatred. I get called slurs in the hallway on a regular basis.
People are entitled to their opinions. And it's just like, how do you think it feels when you're being told that other people's opinions are allowed to be like, you're not allowed to like live?
Most of the times, some people aren't as welcoming, but there are those people who are very welcome.
I like how vibrant the queer community is in Columbus, so it can kind of make it feel a little bit better.
I know that it is my duty in an act of protest to live a life and be filled of joy. I am queer and I am happy. No one can take that away from me.
We are Kaleidoscope Youth Center in Columbus, Ohio. We're located like downtown Columbus.
Right next to the Topiary Park.
If you know, you know. So here at Kaleidoscope Youth Center, we have a lot of services. There's drop-in, which is just kind of time for like queer youth just be around each other. We have programming. We have things like Genderscope, which is a discussion group about gender identity. We have QPOC, which is for like queer youth of color. We have Neuroqueer Spear, which is for neurodivergent.
That's happening today.
That is happening today. I'm going to it. Woohoo! We have like Dungeons and Dragons. Like we got the whole shebang.
Movie and pizza.
We have a space.
It feels very comfortable.
We also have the resource room, like toothbrushes and food
Hygiene
and hygiene.
Hygiene, food.
Some clothes, socks, stuff
Binders.
like that. Binders, yeah.
Like backpacks, pencils, markers, binders, papers, basically whatever you need for school.
Yeah, we have a game room, which we're currently recording, with like a TV. We have a library that's like one of those, like a lending library.
Most of the library has a lot of queer books. I mean, there are some
It's
not.
okay.
Yeah, it's like
It's a gay place. Everything's gay.
Yeah, all gay. If you were to go here,
We have a little kitchenette with all the good snacks and canned Gatorade. This is a big deal here, canned Gatorade. We have like cereal. It's a great. Why are you getting a? Why are you getting like a?
that was canned Gatorade.
My name is Kyros. My pronouns are he, him. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I feel incredibly lucky to be in the situation that I'm in. I live in one of the most accepting cities in Ohio. I mean, we have the second largest Pride celebration in the Midwest, and I have an incredibly queer family. If you asked me to name a cishet person in my family, I'm not sure that I could. And I have an incredibly queer friend group, and I go to an art school that claims to be supportive. And yet I still hear people use gay as an insult without getting in trouble. I hear people use slurs without getting in trouble. And I fear for my safety anytime I leave the house if I'm walking around my neighborhood. People say that it's ridiculous to treat Pride as a protest, but that's what it originated as. And it's evident that with some of our legislature that we still need Pride as a protest. I have had countless arguments about whether or not I should be able to access healthcare. Our state legislature recently has been difficult for queer people. I can't say how many times I've been to the state house out of the necessity to fight for my rights. One of the few places where I feel truly safe is Kaleidoscope Youth Center. I have been going since I was 12, longer than the majority of the staff that I know have been employed. I am glad that I have that as a resource. I'm not sure what I would do without it. It's been an integral part of my life. Another space I'm glad to have is Camp Lilac, which is a camp that moves locations in the Midwest for transgender teens. I've been going for a couple years now. Sadly, I can only go 1 week a year. If I could stay there forever, I probably would. Overall, for being a queer person, there's very little places that I would rather be in the US than Columbus. And I'm glad to be here.
I am Nate. My pronouns are they, them, and I have been coming to KYC for almost 5 years.
I'm Mallory. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Civic Engagement and Advocacy Manager at Kaleidoscope Youth Center. I started working here in October of 2022, which wasn't that long ago, but feels like so much longer. I'm so glad that we were able to be on this episode because I think, everyone deserves to hear all that they have to say. So
I already know who's going to be listening to this, so as a further, hello, hi, how are you? How's your day?
You're one of the youth who I remember right off the bat, right? Because you were here all the time and you just seemed like you had friends and knew what was going on, and a lot of the staff members knew who you were, of course. And so I was kind of like, oh man, Nate, that's one of the ones I need to get to know, right?
I started applying for the community advisory board, which is something that Mallory runs at KYC.
I describe it as the student council of KYC.
I love getting back into roles at KYC. It's very fun. It makes me feel needed, and it makes me feel like my opinion is valid, and what I have to say is important to more than just me and a few other people.
Prior to this, I was working at the State House in a legislative aid type capacity, doing some comms work, and this position ties in that legislative component because it's a lot of advocacy. One aspect of my job is collecting youth quotes on legislation. These are current events that obviously are impacting people's lives here. And I start to feel like the person where anytime I show up in the room with my laptop, people run and hide because they're like, oh God, no, I don't want to talk about what rights are being stripped from me, right? And I am cognizant of that too. Yeah. So I try to toe that line between, empowering people, getting them involved, and also being totally respectful of you're here to have fun. This is your safer space. You shouldn't have to think about these outside factors when you're here.
I remember a couple Fridays you would come in the room and sit down on the front thing with the keyboard, and everybody would look at you and be wide-eyed.
Right. And anytime Nate's in the room, I know that I'm going to have a mouthful to say in front of the legislature because Nate is just so well-spoken and articulate and just, can come up with poetry on a whim, right? It's great.
Eventually, I started getting offered opportunities to do things with news outlets, to do interviews, to offer my opinions. And then from there, I started getting offers to do online news stories. And then from there, I got offers to do news stories with Good Morning America and
Kyoto News, which is a Japanese news outlet as well. Really, really cool stuff. I think the Ohio Capital Journal was another one, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't really remember.
Yeah. So it's super, super cool. And also I'm I wish that you didn't have to do that. I wish you were testifying about literally anything else.
See, I agree. I wish that I could use my public speaking, which I am surprised that I do, as I'm really scared about talking in front of people or just telling people how I feel or being in the spotlight. It's very uncomfortable for me. But my mom says, oh, all of these opportunities will look good on resumes, or they're going to be good for applying for jobs or applying for colleges. And I really wanted to go into political science and to get a degree in that. But then with everything that's happening with the country, and it's just why would I waste my time getting a degree in a political sense of a country that I might not even be living in? I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it makes sense. It's hard to want to dedicate a career to something that feels like a losing game, which is something that's so, it's not that it's particular to Ohio, but I think it's especially felt here in Ohio because of our gerrymandered legislature. And then there's efforts to stop the gerrymandering, and then those are thwarted as well. Here in Ohio, we're often playing defense when it comes to legislation. We're not really, while good legislation, quote unquote, has been introduced that would prevent discrimination on the basis of one's gender identity or expression or sexual orientation. That's the kind of legislation that's been introduced year after year after year since 2008, I think. Unfortunately, the legislation that does see some movement is some anti-trans legislation, specifically bills that are targeting queer and trans youth.
I'm angry. It's affecting me so much more now than ever. I recently got a surgery to alter the appearance of my chest to make it smaller than it was. And when I was first going into consultation, it was supposed to be a top surgery. It was supposed to be a gender-affirming chest masculinization surgery. Sorry.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. And I was really excited about it. Everything was going good. We had a second consult scheduled, and a few days before my second consult, my surgeon called me and told me that the law was being passed, the bill was being pushed through Senate, and that it was now a felony for him to do anything of the sorts to that.
The legislation that Nate is referring to right now is House Bill 68. It was introduced at the beginning of this General Assembly last year, so it would have been early 2023. HB 68 bans gender-affirming care for minors, anyone under the age of 18. That includes hormones, puberty blockers, gender-affirming surgeries, things like that. Yeah, therapy. It creates all sorts of
loopholes.
Yeah, the whole thing is based in fear and misinformation.
And it was just in that moment, everything just kind of changed around me. I felt so angry and beaten down, and I just been pushed down a flight of stairs. It was stressful the months leading up to it and going into it and doing it, and it was painful. And when I was recovering, I was crying to my mom, and I said I went through all of that pain and stress and anxiety for something that I hoped and prayed would make me feel better about the way that I look. But every time I look at myself, I can't see the difference from before the surgery and after. And I'm filled with anger and hate towards people who get to make decisions about situations that they have no idea what it's like to experience, and change people's lives who they have no idea what they're changing for them.
It's real. Currently, while it was vetoed by the governor in December, and then the legislature came back at the beginning of this year, overturned the veto, and it should have taken effect in April, but there was a lawsuit that has put a temporary injunction on the enforcement of that bill. So that, as of this current recording, July 31st of 2024, it's still under that temporary pause. So minors are able to have surgeries. They're able to have gender-affirming care, right? They're able to get on hormones. We're hopeful. And also we know the very real realities that, what Nate experienced of you technically could have gotten, what you had originally, right, what you'd originally been scheduled for. But there's a lot of physicians of the whole gamut who are afraid to do anything because they're well, yeah, but the law is still on the books, even though it's paused. So I don't want to lose my license or whatever.
As angry as I was, and still I am at my surgeon, I understand, he's worked his life to get to where he was. He's gone to medical school. He's done residency. He's done a lot of, work to get to where he is. And I can't imagine having to choose between giving a child affirming care that they need or possibly losing your medical license and going to federal prison. It's not something that I can wrap my head around. KYC has always been a safe space for me. And I remember coming into KYC and to do a meeting with Mallory and my other members and telling them about it and listening to Mal talk about, how we needed to prepare and work for that HB 68, going into hearings and stuff. And I just remember sitting there and tearing up and getting so frustrated and feeling these feelings coming back and everybody just understanding and being in the moment. It was a raw experience.
I think about, we are Kaleidoscope Youth Center. And when people hear youth center, they think, oh, that's so cute. You're a bunch of kids just hanging out. And yeah, are we playing with fidget toys? Yes. Are we coloring? Yeah. But also we're having really real discussions. And are these discussions that should have to be happening? No. But while young people under the age of 18, unfortunately, are not allowed to vote, there's a lot that they have to say. There's a lot that they have to bring to the table, and we need to listen to that. So I appreciate you for bringing that into light.
KYC has given me so many, skills, actually. people who know how to communicate with other people. It gives us like life skills, like this is what you need to do. This is how you're supposed to interact with people. This is where the history of this came from. This is how queer people have affected and changed history. It's not just all about straight cis people who are. It just gives us a lot of insight to like the history of people like us and how we've changed. It teaches us just how to accept ourselves and be humans and be decent humans.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kai Vandaway.
And I'm Trudy Pooks, and you've been listening to
I'm Feeling Queer Today.
If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and share the show with your friends, family, or even your dog. A 5-star rating goes a long way to support us in making more episodes of the podcast.
If you're new here, welcome to the party. Make sure you go back and check out seasons 1 and 2. We think you'll like them a lot. And stay tuned for part 2 of this episode, out next week.
We want to hear from you. That's why we set up our own online voicemail box for you, our listeners, to leave us messages. Go to speakpipe.com/IFQT and drop us a line. That's speakpipe.com/IFQT. Let us know what you think of the podcast, any topics you want us to cover on the pod, and don't forget to ask yourself, how am I feeling queer today?
For more information and resources about this episode, check out the show notes in the description, or check out the episode page at thefutureperfectproject.org/podcast.
If you or a young person you know between the ages of 13 and 24 is currently in crisis, visit thetrevorproject.org for LGBTQIA+ specific support through text or chat, or call 1-866-488-7386. These resources will be in the show notes too.
To learn more about the Future Perfect Project, head to our website, thefutureperfectproject.org, and find us on social media at The Future Perfect Project.
Thank you to all our wonderful contributors this episode, Felix, Connor, Lily, Nate, Zol, Kyros, and my lovely co-host, Kai. Special thank you to KYC's former Civic Engagement and Advocacy Manager, Mallory, and KYC's Community Education and Racial Justice Manager, Lise Ann. IFQT is produced by the Future Perfect Project with support from Radio Kingston, WKNY, Kingston, New York. And our I'm Feeling Queer Today podcast cohort, Alex Massey, Parker McKenzie, Samuel Smalls, Lily Muller, Eric Eubank, and Zorian Edwards.
This episode was recorded in Columbus, Ohio, and produced by Miles Tripp, Becca DiGregorio, and my incredible co-host, Trudy Pooks.
This episode was edited by Becca DiGregorio. Additional production and editing support by Emma Jane Seslowski.
Our theme song is performed and composed by Alex Massey and produced by Emma Jane Seslowski. Additional music from Epidemic Sound, mixing and mastering by Emma Jane Seslowski. This episode was hosted by me, Kai Vandaway.
And me, Trudy Pooks. Special thanks to executive producer and mentor, Celeste Lucine, as well as Future Perfect Project team members, Ryan Amador, Kiko Wan, and Elia Jamil.